Well, it's Watches and Wonders 2023, and like every YouTuber and every Instagrammer and every just sort of watch social media commentator out there, I've been watching intently and I've got a bunch of opinions. But you know what? I'm not going to share them just yet, except for perhaps some very broad ideas. I'll talk about why and also what my big sort of broad ideas about this show are after the intro.
Last clear, 7, go ahead. This is Houston, state
Hi, I'm Pete McConville. Welcome to my channel where I talk about, think about, and analyze watches way too much. If that sounds like something you're interested in, keep watching. If you like what I do, like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. But watch the video to find out whether you're happy before you do it. Okay, so Watches and Wonders 2023 is going on. It's really exciting. There's lots of new watches. Every content creator is falling over themselves right now to get content out, to tell you what they think about all these watches. And I'm not going to do that. And the reason is because of an exchange I had on Discord today with a mate. And I just asked the question about Cartier. I felt that there wasn't that much buzz about Cartier this year. It looked like it being a fairly disappointing year. It looked like there wasn't much going on. And he was really surprised by my response. He felt that there was an enormous amount going on. They'd done the buzz was really quite there for Cartier. And as we walked through trying to figure out what the difference, why such a difference in our opinions, one of the things that came to me is I'm not normally a Cartier viewer. That's not sort of my wheelhouse. And the algorithms in Google and YouTube and Instagram and all those places, they know it. And so they don't show me that stuff unless I go really searching for it. But by the time I go searching for it, a day or two has gone past and the whole, movie blockbuster thing has kicked in. And if the movie, or in this case, the release, hasn't been a massive hit in the first day, then it's a flop. And I feel like I'm doing that with a bunch of watches and looking at other YouTubers and other Instagrammers. I wonder if that's not happening to them as well. That there's a certain amount of energy that goes into the first couple of days, but after that you're a bit tired. After that your throat's going a bit. After that everything kind of eases back a little bit, and as a result what brands are doing and what brands are presenting doesn't have the same push, the same emphasis, the same energy, and we pick up on that and then we think that the brands had a bad show. So what I'm going to do is not talk really specifically about any watches, any watch releases for another week or two. Come back then, and then I've had some time to sort of filter out all of that first day hype, build myself up to enjoy the things I looked at 4 and 5 days in, had time to level all of that out and come up with some sensible things to say. That said, whilst I'm not going to talk about individual brands or not really dive into too much about individual brands, there are 4 things that I suppose, big broad points that I'm noticing out of this show. The first is, what's really hit me is brands can fall into one of 2 camps. And I don't think they're permanently there, but these are phases that brands go through. Brands go through isolationist phases and expansionist phases. Isolationists are brands that are predominantly fan service. They know who they are, they know what they do, and all they do is release watches essentially to their existing fan base. The expansionists, on the other hand, are often quite happy, or not happy, but not unhappy, to make their own fan base a little uncomfortable while they're reaching for someone new. You know what? I'm still a little bit on the fence about this, but for me, quickly, so you understand what I'm talking about, what I would say is Tudor in this year's release of nothing really. There was a Royal, but in general, these were sort of wall-to-wall black bays is perfect example of isolationism. If you're into black bays and you love black bays and that's what you want from Tudor, then Tudor has just given you so much fan service. There's like a big wet kiss, you know. But on the other hand, if you're not into black bays, there's nothing for you here. Tudor's doing nothing to bring you to their brand. On the other hand, you've got Tag, who frankly are just constantly messing with people, but are always looking for something new, always looking for some kind of new watch that will drag in people that would previously never have considered a Tag. So we'll go into more details, but that's the first kind of example of something I've noticed out of this show. And it's going to be interesting trying to look at individual brands and say, do you reckon they're being a bit isolationist here, or are they going through an expansionary phase? The next topic that's really leapt into my head is sort of a tale of two watches. Two watches which in many ways are vastly dissimilar, but I think are joined by a really interesting idea. And that is the new Rolex 1908 and the Alpina Extreme Automatic with the integrated bracelet. Now, like I said, you could probably wonder how are these two watches linked? So different in price and style. But I think they're similar, and like a lot of other watches, in that there's no reason for these watches to exist. Other brands have already done what these watches do very, very well. They're both sort of just picking up on bandwagons which have well and truly left the station. So why are these brands doing this? And I think there's a really solid reason for both of these watch brands doing what they're doing. It's about giving, and a little bit like I said before, it is about this idea of giving your fans what they want. There's a bunch of people out there, you look at the 1908, and you could say, hey, A. Zona do something similar already. Patek do something similar already. So many brands have a Chopard LUC, for example, does this as well, better perhaps already. Why does a 1908 need to exist? Well, you know what? There are people who want a simple dress watch, but they're also Rolex folk and they want a Rolex. That's what the 1908 is for. The Alpina is the same thing. You know, there's lots of people who do integrated bracelets, but what if you're an Alpina fan? What if that's where your other watches are from? It's a brand, it's a vibe that you like. You had nowhere to go. Now there's a product for you. So there's an interesting idea there about how watches and brands might produce a watch which looks like it's jumping on a bandwagon to bring on sort of new buyers, when in fact what they're trying to do is make their existing customers, their existing fans happy and provide them something that those fans might not otherwise want, might not otherwise get. Third topic I'm looking at and thinking about doing a video is about Rolex and understanding the Rolex releases. I have heard so many people say they love what Rolex is doing, but they don't understand it. It seems crazy. I think it actually makes complete sense. But in order to understand what Rolex is doing, you need to remember that the decisions that resulted in today's watches were made 3, 4, and 5 years ago. So to understand what Rolex is doing, you need to put your head in a time machine, go back to 2018, 2019, ask yourself, what was that world like? What was going on that would, you know, lead Rolex to make these decisions? And that is how you understand these releases. And so I'm thinking of doing a video where we do that and go back to like 2018, 2019, have a look at what people were saying about Rolex, what people were saying about the market, and then see how does that fit with the watches that we saw from Rolex this year. And the last video I'm thinking of doing is a really straightforward, just my personal top 10 watches from Watches and Wonders this year. I think that's a fairly standard thing for we YouTubers to do. It's yet another opportunity for me to rabbit on about my preferences. I'm not going to name them now for the exact reason I spoke about on the intro. I want that to stew a little bit, and I want to get a good answer, not just a sort of, you know, shit for brains from the guts kind of response. Anyway, so they're the topics I think I'm going to talk about probably in a week or so on Watches and Wonders. what do you think? Do they sound like interesting topics? Do they sound like something you'd want to hear more about? Are there other things? Are there particular watches that you'd be really keen to hear my opinion on? You know what? I might even do just some tiny little short 2 and 3 minute videos. If you guys come back and say, hey, look, I saw this, what do you think? Yeah, that mightn't be a bad idea. I just thought of that then. Hopefully that works. Anyway, I've been Pete McConville. This is my channel. As I said, this is what I do. If this sounds kind of interesting to you, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, etc., etc. See you later. Bye.